Hey, fun fact, I just learned this. Today is 2/22/22. I just thought you guys might want to know that. A little bit crazy. Over the past couple of weeks, I've felt invited by God into just like some work. A couple of weeks ago, Casey Tiger is here, and he really was talking about invitation to really care for our souls. And then last week, Reverend Samantha Chambo is here, and she had this theme for the week of revival: sacred invitation. I don't know about you guys, but I have just felt really called by God into more. And recently I was reading a devotional that had me thinking about God's silence. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes for me, God's silence can really produce a darkness inside of me and in my soul. Whenever God doesn't express himself in a tangible way, answering my prayers, or just like in the little mundane things of life, sometimes that can create a darkness over my life. And I was reading a devotional that I really want to share with you guys. One of the quotes from that devotional says, "In fact, the silences of Jesus are as eloquent as his words, and may be a sign not of his disapproval, but of his approval in his way of providing a deeper blessing for you." So for a couple seconds, I want to share with you guys a story from that devotional. And maybe God is beginning to change my eyes, and maybe he will change your eyes to what he can use the silence, his silence, for in our lives. So the story in this devotional says that there was a woman, there was a Christian who had a dream about three women who were praying. And the first woman, the Christian is dreaming about, is praying, and God comes up to that lady and he smiles. He comes up to her with tenderness and grace. He smiles with radiant love. He speaks to her, and he really is loving her. And then the next lady he comes up to is praying, and he comes up to her. He places his hand on her, but there's not this sweet sense of him like talking to her. And then the last one that is praying, he walks up to and basically walks by abruptly and doesn't say anything. And to this Christian who is having this dream, they start to think about these three interactions that God has with these three women. And as the person is thinking about these interactions, begins to think that the first one must have really been loved by God, for God to kind of like stop and tenderly touch and speak to this lady. She must have really been loved by God. And the second one was also loved, but maybe not at the same level as the other one. But then the third lady, the person starts to think, what must they have done to maybe upset God, or maybe thwart the plans, or get in the way of what God was trying to do in their lives, and maybe God was upset. And then God meets with that Christian and says, "Oh, how you have it completely wrong. How you have interpreted me completely wrong." And then he goes on to say, the first person kneeling needed the full measure of my tenderness and care to keep her feet on the narrow way. She needed my love, my thoughts, in every moment of the day, because without that, she wouldn't be walking with me, and she would stumble and fall. And the second woman was stronger in faith and has deeper love than the first. I can count on her to trust me in the middle of life's in the craziness of life. But the third woman is a completely different situation. I didn't neglect her, even though it seemed that I didn't notice her or I completely walked away. This woman has faith that is of the purest quality, and I am training her through quick and drastic ways for the highest and holiest service. It goes on to say, she knows me so intimately and trusts me so completely that she no longer depends on my voice, my loving glances, or other outward signs to know my approval. She is not dismayed or discouraged by any circumstances I arrange for her to encounter. She trusts me when common sense, reason, and even every subtle instinct of the natural heart would rebel, knowing that I am preparing her for eternity and realizing that the understanding of what I do will come later. And I don't know, just reading this and how I think about that, I probably would have been like the Christian who thought completely the opposite of what God was doing. And maybe I think about that in my own life whenever darkness or silence comes my way. But this devotional reminded me of two scriptures in particular. It reminded me of Romans 8:28. For in all these things, God works for the good of those who love him, are called according to his purpose. I love the Passion Translation. It says, so we are convinced that every detail of our lives is continually woven together to fit into God's perfect plan of bringing good into our lives. He loves us. And when we submit to that love, whenever we allow even the silence of our lives to be woven, it says, into the fabric of the life that he is creating, he does some amazing things by using every detail of our lives. And for me, that is changing the way I look at darkness. It's changing the way I look at times in my life where maybe God is silent, knowing that he can use even that detail woven together with all the other details of my life to make an amazing thing. The next one is Isaiah 55:9, that his ways are completely different than our ways. It says, as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are his ways than our ways, and his thoughts to our thoughts. And maybe the way that I think about the silence of God, or maybe the way I think about darkness, is actually getting in the way of what God wants to do in my life. Maybe he can use even those things, as it says in Romans, to do an amazing work in our lives. When Lamorse Crawford was here, he said that God is more concerned with our character than our comfort. And maybe it is in these days that God is teaching us that in the darkness, in discomfort, he is doing something in our character that is going to be absolutely amazing. So I just want to challenge you in these days to continue to respond, to continue to answer the call to the sacred invitation of God, to take care of your soul, and to realize that everything in this life, all the details of our life, God uses to create an amazing thing. Have a good day. See ya.